privileged to be a part of this event. There are certain moments in a parent's life that you will never forget. The day your child was born, when your child first looked into your eyes, the first time they ate what we called in our house people food. Their first step and used their first word. I remember each of those. At times, it was the only memory I had to cling on to. We had all of those things. Eye contact, baby babbling, and he was eating all sorts of people food. And then, we didn't. I wish I could tell you the day it stopped. I wish I knew exactly. Sometimes I wish it all just happened at once, but it didn't. At 2.5, we watched our son slowly and gradually disappear into his own world. First, he would no longer look into our eyes. Then the babbling and beginning formation of words just started to turn into grunts and sounds. Any and all people food, with the exception of 3 things, were no longer eaten, except by our dog Jake. In October 2008, our son was diagnosed with autism. I won't ever forget that day. That was when we were introduced to the Gerry Frank Children's Center. I remember sitting in the waiting room, looking around at other parents and their children, as we watched a child in a wheelchair happily singing to himself, a little girl who was quietly in a corner playing with some toys, and a little boy clearly struggling, a mother who was frantically trying to calm and soothe her child. She didn't seem to notice or pay attention to anyone else in the room except her little boy. Little did I know that would soon be my future, my little boy, and I would be that mother. During our appointment, lots of information was exchanged. To this day, I couldn't tell you exactly what all we talked about, but I do remember shaking hands with our doctor, her walking us out to the reception area, handing us phone numbers, resources, and lastly, a handout. And there it said, "Your child and autism." So began our journey at the Gerry Frank Children's Center. A place where I never envisioned I would be ended up being my safe haven, my child's safe haven, a place where we felt accepted in a world where sometimes we aren't. I had no knowledge of autism or experience with children that have special needs. I was a scared mother whose heart was shattered because of those things I mentioned. Would our child ever look at us? Would he ever feel like he belonged? Would he make or have friends? Ride a bike? Play sports? Get invited to go to a children's birthday party? Have his own birthday party? Would we get to hear our son's voice, him talk? All things that some take for granted can now become wishes and dreams for me. We had to have a new set of dreams. Mine was to hear the words, "I love you, Mommy," a look into my eyes. My husband's was to go ride a bike, play catch with his son. For years now, we've been on our journey at the Gerry Frank Center. We've spent more time there than at a park watching our son play. He didn't know how to play. He didn't have the strength to climb the play structures, and when the other children approached him to play or talk, he would just look off into a distance. JC has limited verbal, lack of muscle development, and sensory issues. Because of that, he isn't able to ride a bike, for now. Going to our local park is like going to a dentist for some. It's an unwelcoming place at times. Doing typical errands or tasks, going out to a restaurant are hard and hurtful, filled with heartaches, meltdowns, stares, and yes, even unsolicited comments. Through the therapy JC has received, we felt accepted, he feels accepted, he feels like he belongs. We've learned how to communicate with our son and how he communicates. The first 2 years of our therapy, JC would walk into the waiting room each and every time. The receptionist would acknowledge him, ask him how he was. He didn't look at her, he didn't acknowledge her. 3 days of the week. For 2 years, I watched as she would constantly and consistently go through the same routine with him. Some days I said, I'm sorry, apologizing for his non-response. And some days I too couldn't say anything. But one thing never changed. She never quit, and neither has our therapy team. At each and every therapy session, I have watched as they've worked not only with JC, but with us and each other, coming up with ideas, plans on how JC learns, not how he is supposed to learn. Some days are more difficult than others. For 6 months, I had a hard time getting JC in the doors. I knew it wasn't because he didn't like it there. In fact, there were times when being at the Gerry Frank Center was the only happiness we got to see from him. Yet during those few months, he wouldn't go in. I was met with screaming, crying, and even self-hurting. My heart was torn. Do I give up, take him back home, or do I walk through the hospital lobby with a child who was clearly upset about something? Was it the noise? The lights? Had something changed? I didn't know. I still don't. Just as I was feeling defeated, thinking, I can't do this, I'm exhausted, it was our therapist, Sarah, who thought out of the box. This little red wagon, you see, she would bring that wagon out to the lobby to greet us. JC would happily get in, and we would go for a ride before we would go back and play. Through therapy, co-treatments with other children of special needs in Camp Spot, we have watched our son blossom. He's made friends, learned to play games, even face painting. He has a place where he feels like he is accepted. All things we didn't know if we would one day have. He continues every day to make strides with the love, support, and caring that he receives at the Gerry Frank Center. It's a journey, our journey, and the journey of so many other children. Just recently, 3 weeks ago in fact, as I was helping JC get dressed for school, he put his hand under my chin, lifted it up, looked me in the eyes, and for the very first time said, I love you. Not because he heard it from me, not because he was repeating it, he initiated it. He connected with me. It's a dream come true. None of this would be possible without the staff at the Gerry Frank Center who have taught us it is indeed a marathon, not a sprint. It's a journey. We aren't alone. From the receptionists to the schedulers, the billers, the doctors, the management team, and of course our therapists, who my husband calls the Providence Angels. The service they offer are crucial to children and families of children with special needs. Their hard work and determination have not only given our family, our son, but so many others, their child. So the chances are, you know a family that needs the services that are offered at the Gerry Frank Center. And if you don't, you do now. Please meet my son, JC Traw. Son JC and Gerry share the same birthday. So JC has something that he would like to say to Mr. Frank.
Happy birthday!